Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the 133rd episode of Hawk Blogger Mornings. I am Brian Nemhauser. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Hawk Blogger, and today's a special day. Today is a special Sunday. Not only is it a gorgeous Sunday out there, but we have a special guest for you. Someone that I have gotten to know more of late than I ever had before, and I feel like it's been a long time coming. Mazvita Maraire of CascadiaSports.net joins the show. I now know him as Maz. Can I call you still Maz? Is that okay, Maz?
Absolutely. Absolutely, sir.
And first of all, welcome to the show, dude. It's so great to have you.
Thanks for having me, Brian. This is an honor. You've been doing this for a long time and you got a great audience. So I hope I'm up to the task.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, this guy is obviously, he is playing himself down, very humble. I went for my first opportunity to be at Lumen Field in the press box and, going around. I didn't know anything. I didn't know which way was up. I didn't know how to get back to the press box. I didn't know how to. Maz walks through there and he is the mayor. Everybody, like every attendant knows him, every player, every coach. Like, you've been at this for a while and you have a lot of respect around that organization.
Well, thank you. But, I have been doing for quite a bit. And those are such friendly people. You know that. I mean, they're amazing over there. They treat everybody with, you know, kid gloves and, respect us and we respect them.
Well, Maz, since not everybody does know your story, and I didn't really until a few weeks ago when you shared some of it with me. Uh, Tell us, like, how did you get into this? Where did you start? All the way back to before there was KJR Sports Radio.
Well, thanks. You know, I really started out at King Radio. Uh, and so I was there doing the overnight shift. And it was just King Radio then. And Tony Ventrella and Dory Monson. We got talking. Dory at that time was Tony Ventrella's producer on King 5. And so we started talking a little bit with Dory and also Steve Kelly. So, well, why don't we do a show? You know what I mean? Why don't we do? And we did, what was it? Seattle Sports Saturday with Dory Monson and Steve Kelly. And that's kind of how I got started. I was covering sports at that time and just really began to get more into covering the Seahawks, the Huskies, and the Sonics were here back then. And and you just kind of grow from there. And then I went on to my own business, CascadiaSports.net, and now just cover the Seahawks, the Mariners, and the Sounders, and that's why everybody knows me, Brian, because I'm there almost every day, if you will. So
It is. I mean, I am in awe. I mean, honestly, I it's been a stretch of my time, like with childcare and getting there and back and creating the content and editing and all that kind of stuff just to be able to cover the Seahawks training camp. And I haven't been there every single day. You are there all the time, and you cover the Mariners and you cover the Sounders. You're everywhere. Like, do you get any days that you're not somewhere covering something?
yeah, I mean, there's days here and there, but like we love this stuff and the fans, your fans. I mean, we do. You love what you do, and what you do is what you love. So, yeah, sure you take every time here and there, but we love sports, we eat and breathe this stuff, and so yeah, it's fun, love it.
Well, it's impressive. I gotta say it's a grind, and I'm just starting like at the very early stages on easy level, and definitely been cool too. You've been very welcoming, and I've appreciated that and shown me the ropes a little bit. So thank you for that. And let's talk about the Seahawks a little bit. You've seen a number of camps over the years, and you know Pete Carroll from before Pete Carroll, I'm curious, like, what stood out to you so far about Mike McDonald's first training camp as head coach of the Seahawks?
This guy has a plan. Every coach has a plan, obviously, but he really, really has a plan. and he is out to, execute it. And that plan specifically, it starts from when you walk in that building. I mean, they are so precise in every movement that they do. And you've seen that just in terms of, the pre-practice, the music is down a little bit, but every single, I would say, second, they've thought about it, where they move, the drills, the kind of drills they're doing, the pace, the tone of practices, and it's also all about teaching. That's the one thing I've noticed, right? There's a rapid pace there, Brian, but it's also about teaching. You know, Mike is teaching, you said Darren is teaching, and Grubb's teaching. So that's what my initial thoughts, observations. Not to say Pete wasn't teaching as well, right? But here, I mean, I think you referenced kind of the first grade type of thing. That's what I get. Let me see if I can pull this off. It's there's a teaching of the basics there.
Mm-hmm.
And every day seems to be the first day of school, and that's intentional in what Mike McDonald's trying to do here.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's well said. He had his first chance to walk on to Lumen Field as head coach with players and fans yesterday, and I don't know if you noticed it. I could see it was one of those days that it kind of sunk in to another level for him that he's now the head coach. Like I could kind of see he's starting to feel what it means to be the head coach here of the Seahawks. I'm curious, what were your takeaways from that scrimmage yesterday?
Yeah, to your point, we were in the post game. Remember when he walked out of that door and he said, "Oh, so this is what it's like," and he had that smile.
Yeah,
Remember,
yeah,
kind of like, "Oh yeah," to your point. Okay, yeah, yeah, okay. Oh, this the suit fits. Okay,
yeah.
Um, so, and then as far as the scrimmage, I thought, Brian, what I thought was interesting was those. Sure, they did the warm ups at the end. The different units, those kind of things. What struck me was when they did the one-on-one drills. I mean, the one-on-one kind of, for lack of the competition.
Mm-hmm.
They had like a linebacker against a running back, one-on-one. I know that was a little bit for the show and tell for the fans, but that's an example just what he does. He's about competition every single moment. I thought it was he found a way to make it very competitive without
Mm-hmm.
putting his players in a position of whether it was injury or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's exactly right. I think I wrote one time, or maybe I said, I can't remember where I put it, but he is making competition a more central part of his practices in a more organic and natural way than I think Pete did. And that, like, knowing that was the central tenet of Pete's philosophy, it's just a good reminder that sometimes you just need fresh eyes and fresh ideas to kind of even get at this core notion of making these things competitive. And I loved that at the scrimmage they would announce over the PA the one-on-one, like Tyrell Dodson versus Kenneth Walker. Poor Tyrell Dodson trying to cover Kenneth Walker 1v1 in a pass route with nobody around him. Like, nobody can cover Kenneth Walker in open space like that. But it was cool. It was cool to have that, for the players to hear it, for them to feel it. And I think, anyone that's played sports, there is something different when you get into the game. Your adrenaline's at a different level. The competition's at a different level. You play and feel differently. You think at a different pace. And I think he's found some ways to simulate or get closer to that feeling than what I've seen from other coaches, which is, I think, what you're getting at.
Yeah, I mean, to create a championship mentality, to your point, I think you have to feel that, okay, I can lose this play and go on to the next one. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that he's really trying to have the team understand is what does he call it? Stacking plays, right?
Stacking days,
Yeah,
stacking plays,
stacking
stacking
plays,
days.
stacking days, and I'll bet. I mean, I'm not a betting person, but I'm pretty sure he'll eventually tell us stacking wins. You know what I'm saying? Because if you look at
Uh-huh.
those three put together, that's
Yeah.
the mentality. So it breaks down to the point of where he's trying to to like each play. You can lose this play, but you got to win the next one and the next one and next one.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we've got a super chat here around this topic, so let's bring this in from Detail Oriented. Thank you for the super chat. He says, Brian, I have friends who work at the VMAC. They've told me that Coach Mack is very big on demanding respect, yet despite being a more disciplined type of coach, almost everyone really likes him. Thoughts? What do you think about that, Maz?
Yeah, he is old school and new school, right? So the old school is on the practice field, you know, good football, fundamental football, and we're going to play tough football, all of that. But he is also a player's coach in that he respects the players. His message is clear. And yeah, they both respect each other in a way. The players respect him because he's very clear in terms of what he's trying to say and he demands the best. But he's willing to listen to what the players have to say in terms of the design of the offense and the defense, if you will.
Yeah, I I agree with all that, and I think that part of it as well is at his core, he's a good guy. Like he does care about other people. I think he appreciates other people caring about him. There is a guarded nature to him. You know, it's very clear. There's a kind of a force field that he has up, but you see him let it down a lot more than other guys, and where he is smiling and he is, engaging. And so I think he's more than one thing. He's like all of us. He's a complicated, mixture of things. But he can be intense, he can be guarded, but he can also be a pretty engaging person that you feel some warmth from. And so I think it's cool. I think I'm really happy he's our head coach. So let's talk about players. So far, whether it's in the scrimmage yesterday or just through camp in general, who's kind of caught your eye?
I mean, outside we can go down the list, right? I mean, Jake Bobo's obviously he's having a great camp. I think speaking to what we're saying, Mike McDonald's bringing out the best in some of I would say, the stars, and not challenge them in a way to the next level of performance. So then I'd say DK, we've noticed a couple of times, even yesterday, he had the one-handed catch, down in the end zone there. And Ken Walker surprises me. The quadriceps look, yeah, they look bigger. He just looks a little bit more stronger, but yet leaner. So Devin Weatherspoon, obviously, as advertised, and one more. Then he talked about this. That is Mike McDonald yesterday, just in terms of the rookie they drafted, Byron Murphy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the exciting things about the way that you phrase that is, you talked about getting the best out of some of the best players. And Mike Holmgren used to have a saying that it never left my mind. He's like, your best seasons happen when your best players have their best years. And if you want to win a Super Bowl, if you want to win a big game, your best players have to play their best. And it sounds so cliche and simple, but if you look over the years, there's been a lot of situations where, some of the Seahawks best players have not had their career years, or they haven't all lined up, or there's been something that's keeping them from really meeting their potential. And I think the last 4 years or so, it's kind of been littered with guys on the Seahawks roster not having career years. Like there's just haven't been these really standout years. And I do get this feeling that between Mike McDonald and Ryan Grubb, that we're going to see some guys this year have the best years of their career. And that's a pretty big deal. I mean, obviously very early, haven't played games, but that's the kind of feeling I'm getting. What are your thoughts about that?
Totally agree. And it's based on the premise of like the offense and the defense. And I think this is why McDonald went and got Ryan Grubb, right? It's the same kind of philosophy of putting the players in the best position for them to succeed. So if you as a player get that, you know what, we've looked at this with film study, blah, blah, blah. We're going to put you over here. We feel that you're going to win this matchup. And because you do that, it's going to help us win. And that's replicated in 10 other positions. Well, of course, I am going to, feel excited and want to play my best and continue, on every single play. Yeah, it's a ready-made recipe to have players do their best, And to your point, I think after, it'll be interesting to see how he keeps that edge. Him, Mike McDonald, players feeling like that after 6, 7 years. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing, right? It sounds great. You can keep players playing for a few years, but how do you consistently keep them at that edge for years and years? Not very many coaches have done that, and those that have are Hall of Fame coaches.
Yeah, yeah, that's a terrific point, and I think a lot of Seahawks fans will take even for 1 year. Let's start with 1 year, and then well, as you said, we'll stack on it from there. But it would be nice to see. Uh, Curious how you think about overall the offense and the defense so far. And let's it's a little complicated with Geno Smith being out the last few days. So let's kind of narrow it to when Geno Smith has been in. How do you feel the offense has been playing? How do you feel like the defense has been playing up to this point?
Offense, I think you're seeing the ball going down the field, right? In different quarters of the field, different thirds of the field. That is, they're really trying to take advantage of DK Metcalf stretching the field there, but also the awareness of making sure Jackson Smith, so the flats, right? Jackson Smith and the Jigba in that place. And the other thing, and I know you've noticed this as well, is that screen, whatnot, out of the backfield, somewhere in the flats there. So that offense is going to test. I've seen them work on this, is going to test defenses in all phases of the passing game, right? So that's the one thing I've noticed in terms of the offense. Defense, wow. I mean, it's a lot of mirrors and a lot of disguise, but there's also in the back end, there's also some greediness up front. I mean, they want to get those, that D line, those edge rushers in the backfield. And I've noticed that there's a sense of, we've got to execute, we've got to get there, and that's part of how they're teaching them the different techniques that are there.
Do you think one side of the ball seems better equipped to be a top 10 unit, be like a one of the better units in the league? Like, do you think either of them are looking like they could be one of the better units in the league, or is it just, improved?
Wow. I'm going to err on, I think, the offense just because I think they'll get to 12th. You know what I mean? I think they'll
Mm-hmm.
be better. Overall, I think that's what Grubb will do to the offense. The defense will be improved. I mean, they're not going to be the worst run defense. They'll climb up 25. They'll get to 15 once they get it right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if that makes any sense, but
It does.
take on that.
It does. I think that's roughly where I am as well. I mean, I think if Mike McDonald can get this to be a league average defense from, where they were 28th, 29th, 30th, depending on the stat, 32nd
Right.
last couple of years, that would be a huge change. And offensively, I think this offense has the potential to scratch the top 10. A lot of it will have to do with that offensive line. What do you think Mike McDonald meant yesterday when he said we have not come close to finding our five best on the offensive line? Where did your mind go when he said that? Who do you think he was talking about in particular?
Well, I know you all talked about it, Connor Williams, yesterday, right? Just in
Mm-hmm.
terms of you guys discussed it, and then I was thinking, man, is he talking about the center? I mean, the obvious one that jumps out is obviously right tackle with Abe Lucas, right? Not being able
Mm-hmm.
to practice, and as you've heard, McDonald, has played that down well. I liked how he says it, right? Like he's not here. We're hoping to get him, but he's not here, and he leaves it there, right? So I think he's talking about that right tackle, and it surprises me the center if they're kind of looking at bringing in the center. I don't know. You would know better whether Williams is versatile because although to me he looks a little smaller. You know what I mean? I mean the guy was great at Michigan, obviously. Outland Trophy winner, but I just wonder. You know, Cross, Tomlinson, Bradford, no Lucas. Is George Fant your answer? Christian Haynes. I think it's Nick Harris, right? I mean, I think it's
Mm-hmm.
all. I think that's what he was referring to. Like, man, we got something in the blender here. We're gonna put some ice in there, and then we got to make a cold drink out of it. And I don't know how it's gonna come out.
Yeah, one of the things that was interesting to me about that, Maz, we're talking to Mazvita from CascadiaSports.net. Make sure you check him out on all platforms. Usually, if there's competition, like meaningful competition at a spot, you're getting some sort of rotation happening at least. So you're seeing guys play with the ones, seeing similar competition. And we're not really seeing that. I mean, there's been some vet days where like Christian Haynes will play left guard when Laken Tomlinson was out, so he was playing with the ones, but he's not really rotating with Laken Tomlinson and challenging him for that spot. I think there's been times where obviously Oluwatimi has been out, and so someone else has been playing center. But George Fant has taken vet days, but there hasn't been like an active rotation. And so that's why it surprised me a little bit when McDonald offered that up yesterday. And I can tell you, my mind went first to Anthony Bradford. I'm not convinced that guy has made a significant step from where he was. I still see inconsistent pass protection, him getting beat pretty quickly at times. I think Christian Haynes has been taking some steps forward, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's starting to close that gap. There was a point where I thought this isn't a close race. It was kind of like Sam Howell versus Geno Smith was going to be a competition, and then you're like, nope, it's not. And I thought Anthony Bradford and Christian Haynes were going to be a competition, and I'm like, nope, it's not. But now I think it's closing. I floated another idea. I'm going to actually try to ask Coach McDonald about this next week if I can sneak it in. Christian Haynes took snaps at center during the Senior Bowl. How interesting would it be if they start looking at cross-training Christian Haynes at center and what that might allow them to do in terms of maybe that means McClendon Curtis can ultimately play right guard, and George Fant can be right tackle, and eventually Abe Lucas can be like. Do you think that is the craziest idea you ever heard, or is there some chance that could happen?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
Only because it's crazy because you don't want to rotate your offensive line and disguise them like you do the defensive backfield, but you want flexibility. Right? I mean, you want your players to be able to play one or two different positions there. So, and the other thing, Brian, when you were talking, I wonder, to your point, are they happy at center? I mean, that's especially when you said put him over, have him try center. I was like, wow, I wonder if Nick Harris or Oluwatimi, and even we've seen what Nowitzki take some snaps there. The question would be asked Scott Huff. He was like, we're not going to get him to say, well, how are you happy with the center position? Can you give us your top two? But I wonder now that's what I'm going to look for this week. I'm going to take a look at those center because I wonder if he was talking to that as well, just addressing.
Yeah. I don't think the center position has been particularly good. I don't think Olu's been particularly good even when he's been out there. I don't think Nick Harris has been particularly good when he's been out there. And they have some younger guys that are battling, but I would be shocked. I don't think either one of them are going to push for starting snaps. So it has me thinking about other options for sure.
That's a good call.
So curious as well. You know, what's your take so far on the quarterback position? Talk to us about Geno Smith. What have you seen from Geno Smith when he's been out there? And then what have you seen from the other guys?
Geno Smith, I thought looked great, which is what you expect, right? The first week of camp there, because he knows the surrounding, he knows his parking place, he knows his locker is, and all of those things. And he looked what you would expect, right? He was decisive, he knew the offense and those kind of things. Did a good job of stepping up in the pocket, um, which is good. So Sam Howell, it was interesting. I know you heard this, and fans and listeners now also heard this from what McDonald said. He said, in this type of setting, Sam, you're not going to see the best of Sam because the controlled scrimmage. And I was like, that's good, but I wonder if he's trying to, you know, protect Sam a little bit, only because what we've seen with and Howell was the opposite of Smith, that he came out slow, indecisive that first week. He's gotten a little bit better. You've seen some things that he can do, and then you're like, whoa, where was that pass to? Uh, and someone said a couple fans, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he
Yeah.
also he's run out of the backfield a couple of times, and I know it's touch football, and that made me think, okay, he's one of those moxie candy, make the play type of quarterback,
Hmm.
and he thrives in chaos, so to speak, without being unpredictable. If that makes any sense there.
It makes a lot of sense. That's kind of how I've started to see him. And I don't know, Maz. I feel like I'm not sure that that's who they thought they were getting. I mean,
Mm.
this is a guy who did make a lot of passes from the pocket last year, had some big time throws. And while I think he is good, he's better on the run. He's better being like put into, sprint outs and bootlegs and things like that. I think he's particularly good there. He's a little shorter. So he's remarkably like Russ in some ways. Not saying he's as much of a creator as Russ, but he has a lot of the same deficiencies and he doesn't have quite the same strengths. And so as an offensive coordinator, I think that can be really tough to and as just as an offensive line. I saw a play yesterday, Charles Cross flagged for holding. He had Chenna Nuosu absolutely locked up. What happened? Sam Howell scrambles around Cross's back, and so then Uchenna tries to release, and the Cross is doing his job, but then as Uchenna tries to release, the ref sees that he's holding on to him, and Cross gets a holding penalty. And we saw that with Russ too, where he would break the pocket, would make it very hard on his linemen. And so I I don't know. Like, hopefully, they see a way that Sam Howell can become a more system friendly quarterback. Because if all that he is an improviser, I don't think that can be your quarterback of the future. That's my concern. I don't think you can build a reliable offense around someone who is just unreliable in how they play the position.
Yeah, it's a great point, because I think if you close your eyes and you look at and someone tells you the stats that Howell had last year, yeah, we get the interception and everything else, but it's at all those games. You see one thing, and then you open your eyes and see him play. To your point, you're like, whoa, wait a minute, that doesn't, there's a lack of discipline. You think a starting quarterback in the NFL, the amount of games that he played last year would have. And to your point, it makes the offensive line, and they don't know where he's at with Russ. Like, well, where are you at? I don't know. How do I hold? Should I let him go? That is the guy that I'm blocking. It'd be interesting. What happened during. I wonder what John Schneider was doing when the tests were going for Gino. How his cell phone was being used, as opposed to when he found out that
Yeah.
the results came back. But
Yeah.
really, seriously, to your point, I don't. I never thought Howell was the quarterback for the future for this team, and I think definitely now they know it's a stopgap. You know what I mean? If you want, yeah, he is a stopgap for my guess for the year. Honestly, that's what I think. If he can, Gino stays healthy, and maybe Howell can just do what 2 year, last year he came in for a couple. Who backed up, Gino last year and came in for a couple games, right? Because Gino missed 2 games, so
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing. I think he can play a couple games, but if he gets to 3 or 4, you're in trouble.
Yeah, that's what it feels like right now, for sure. If you haven't given the show a like and click subscribe, please do. Would greatly appreciate it. And also, Maz, where can they find your stuff on YouTube? Where a lot of you have all these great videos up there, all that great content.
Yeah, it's Mazvita, Maraire, right there on YouTube, and then CascadiaSports.net is the website. And yeah, there you go. And same thing with the handles, all using the name as well as Cascadia. Kind of do a dual thing there.
What do you have coming up for folks this coming week?
Yeah, thanks, Brian, for the homework. And I'm going to kind of take a look at the center position this week. Yeah, I think it's time to really look at the offensive line. They're less than, what, 6 days away, less than a week from, the first preseason. So now I begin to take a look at what that front five looks like. Because it is, it's winding down. So a little bit of the offense there. And then obviously, like everybody else, we're going to just take a look at when does Gino return, and then how much do they use him when he returns before the game.
Yeah. Yeah, great stuff. Mazvita has terrific content up for you guys. If you're not already following him, please do. You will not regret it. Also, folks, we have added, I think we're up to maybe 15 to 17 new YouTube members and Patreon members, trying to get up to 50 new folks before the season begins so that I can go on the road and cover the team for you, at least in the first game against New England, and then hopefully in some other games as well. So please join. It's a great time to join as a YouTube member or patreon.com/hawkblogger. You also get access to the ad-free audio version of this podcast every single day immediately after the show, and to the Slack channel where people are having conversations. It's a great, fun, friendly community. So now's a great time to join. Maz, honestly, you said it the beginning. It's been my honor to have you on the show. What a great guest you've been, and hopefully we can have you back again down the line.
Would love to, Brian. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate you, and welcome. Appreciate you. Welcome to the beat, and we appreciate you being on the beat, brother.
All right, thanks, man. That is Mazvita. Make sure you check him out at CascadiaSports.net. And I'm Brian Nemhauser. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at HawkBlogger. Thanks to all you for tuning in. This has been episode 133 of Hawk Blogger Morning.